Despite all the disruptions, China-U.S. trade continued to grow, like it or not, believe it or not, in the past few years. If you look at the trade data, if you look at investment, of course, was not ideal, but if you look at trade, that's still growing. What do you make of that?
When you have developed sources, it is not, people say, well, just change sources. Well, it's not so easy. You need qualified suppliers, you need an infrastructure, and you need a lot of things. So all this talk of trade decoupling, there has been limited trade decoupling, where if you use China as a supply chain, you've moved to Vietnam, or you've moved to Cambodia, or you've moved to Sri Lanka or somewhere else. That has occurred, but it's quite limited in how it has occurred. The other is a lot of the trade and investment is in China for China. That's not going to leave. You're not going to sit there and put a facility in Vietnam to sell to China. Maybe you'll have a facility in China that will help you sell to Vietnam. So that has continued. It's much more difficult to change a supply chain than political people think. We just tell them you got to change it. Well, it's not so easy. Tariffs have created some supply chain disruption, but the theory of tariffs was flawed. The idea, when our president announced it, was it would bring manufacturing back to the United States. It didn't. There's no evidence that manufacturing came back to the United States. But there is some evidence that it did go to Southeast Asian countries, it did go to Mexico. So what it was, it didn't return trade to the United States, it was a diversion of trade. Also, people haven't realized it's inflationary. So the cost of the goods manufactured in Vietnam, because of the infrastructure and other problems in getting going, in Mexico, is higher than it was in China. So that's actually added slightly to inflation. So it's policies that are bad and have not really been effective. So as I said earlier, it would be great to have both sides end the tariffs. It would be good for trade, it would be good for U.S. China relations, it would be good for inflation, it would be good for lower income Americans. We should do it, and when I go back, I will make another plea to the U.S. government to do that.